sorry, we have to be interrupted because Jagmeet Singh, the leader MDP, is also arriving at the scrum. So let's go. So for the last 6 years, you have a pension. Before that, you were a provincial MPP. In other words, most of your career happened at taxpayers' expense, and yet you chose to boycott the Conservatives and other medias that lead a little bit more to the right, like ours, and you supported Justin Trudeau's project to censor the internet, even though you're paid by Canadians. So why do you think that this is ethically acceptable to marginalize Conservatives and to refuse to treat them with respect? I will not answer questions from Rebel News because it is an organization that promotes disinformation, so I will not answer your question. But I will take the time to say that for me, what is most important in this election is who is going to fight for you, who is going to fight for what you consider to be important, like healthcare, like the interests of ordinary people, not CEOs, and to make sure that we support people against the giants. Well, you're still listening to me, Mr. Sun. You are not allowed to go back to India because your political opinions have been judged to be unacceptable. And yet in Canada, you support censorship of things that you consider to be unacceptable, especially via online censorship. You even refuse to respond to questions with journalists that you disagree with, like you have just said so. So I assume that according to you, we should be punished in one way or another? So how are you any different than authoritarian politicians that you would imprison for their ideas? Well, there's another example as to why I refuse to answer questions by Rebel News, because you promote disinformation, and your question shows this quite well.
No, you're just joking.
Next question, please.
Kate McKenna from CBC News. Your party and the other parties haven't released costed platforms. How can we have an honest debate about your promises when voters can't see how you'll pay for them?
Well, we're the only party that has actually laid out clear examples of how we would raise money. We talked about ending offshore tax havens, enforcing the Canada Revenue Agency to get the money that we're owed. There's billions and billions, tens of billions of dollars that we're owed that we're not receiving because of a lack of enforcement. So we've laid out clear ways that we would increase revenue. We've also talked about things that we would cut. We would cut offshore tax havens, but we'd also cut fossil fuel subsidies and private consultants, and instead rely on our civil servants. So we've laid out some of the real ways that we would do that, whereas the Conservatives are very clear what they're going to do. They're going to cut the services that people need. They've laid that out. And we've also seen that sadly, Mr. Carney's also talked about cutting services, and his plan to balance the operating budget in 3 years would mean $43 billion in cuts. And so if you want someone that's going to stand up and fight back against those cuts, hold the Liberals to account. You need to send New Democrats to Ottawa like you did before, and we were able to deliver dental care and pharma care. Send more New Democrats again to Ottawa, and we will fight back against these cuts.
You spoke the least this evening of all of the leaders. I'm wondering how you feel about how you did tonight, whether you were able to communicate your message to French-speaking Canadians.
Well, ultimately, the difference wasn't as big, but initially I was worried about it. But I'm really proud that I was able to make the case to Canadians, to Quebecers, to French-speaking Canadians, that what New Democrats are going to do is stand up for what matters most to you. I made it a point to stand up for healthcare because it is so fundamental to who we are as a country. We fundamentally believe that we should take care of each other, and healthcare represents that value. So I raised that. I talked about how we can make life more affordable by putting a price cap on essential food items like other countries have done. I talked about how we can stop big corporations, corporate landlords from buying up affordable homes. I laid out how we would take the GST off of your monthly bills like cell phone and internet and give people a real break. And so in this difficult time, the question in this election is who's going to actually fight for you, not the billionaires, and sending more New Democrats to Ottawa. Voting for us is how you have someone on your side fighting for you.
Question en français.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh, Christian.
Mr. Singh, Christian Noël, Radio-Canada. We heard you talk about equitable treatment. He wanted to give you equitable treatment, so why did you get angry with him? Well, I was just feeling really passionate, and there was no personal problem between him and I. I was just saying how passionate I felt about this, because for me, healthcare is so amazing. It saved my father's life. And when I was a law student, yes, I always think that it's fundamental to defend healthcare. For me, this is something I take very, very personally, and I'm very passionate. I think that I have really shown how much I want to defend them, because we're in a crisis right now, and I think it is a solvable crisis. I think that people in Quebec and people all over the country now see how important healthcare is for me, and I think it's important for other people. During the debate, you accused Pierre Poilievre of wanting to privatize healthcare. What proof do you have to this effect? Well, he has suggested he wanted to cut healthcare, and as well as all of the other programs that we desperately need. And like all conservatives, if you look at their balance sheet, they always want to privatize everything. Everywhere there's conservatives like Daniel Smith, people who is a great ally of Mr. Poilievre. And Daniel Smith, what is she doing right now? She's massively privatizing the Alberta healthcare system. And she is basically giving the power to private organizations. So there are many examples of how the Conservatives do this. Their values are all about privatizing, and Mr. Poilievre is continuing in the same vein. And he wants to make massive cuts in healthcare, and he wants to accelerate privatization of healthcare.
Hello, Mr. Singh. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News. Your party takes great pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and online...
Sorry, I didn't get your outlet.
Drea Humphrey with Rebel News.
Okay.
Your party...
You know where I'm going to go with this, all right?
Can I speak?
Yeah, you can. I'm just going to say you know where I'm going to go with it, though.
Your party takes pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and online hate speech. Yet you stay silent about ongoing attacks against Christians, even after Conservative MP Jamil Javani's order paper question revealed that over 200 churches have been targeted by arson and vandalism since claims of remains being discovered at former residential schools swept the nation in 2021. These claims have been disproven by bands that excavated and remain unproven by those that have not. Will you condemn the rise in acts of hate against Christians today and explain what your party will do moving forward to keep Christians safe from hate in Canada?
Again, thank you, but I'm not going to respond to an organization that promotes misinformation and disinformation like Rebel News, so no, I'm not going to respond to your question.
Please keep the questions and answers short. We're just getting up to the time.
Perhaps you didn't hear me. Over 200 Christian places of worship have been attacked in Canada since 2021. Many served First Nations communities, many were historic, and they diverted police and resources and put others at risk. What do you say to Canadians who see your refusal to answer, especially from one of the few media outlets here that are not funded by the state, as proof that a vote for you is a vote for a dangerous radical party that gaslights the public into thinking it stands against hate when its silence is instead emboldening Christophobia?
Your question is another example of why I don't respond to agencies like Rebel News that promote misinformation and disinformation.
Très rapidement, une question en français.
Very rapidly, a question in French with short answers, please. Hello, Massage Week for La Converse. What did you say? La Converse. La Converse. It is an independent media in Montreal. Several organizations that are activists for Amnesty International say that Canada should withdraw itself from the third-party safe agreement. And considering the present-day context, do you think that we should withdraw Canada from the third safe party agreement? That's really difficult right now because I don't know if you're... Well, there's another journalist. Well, I'll give an answer.
Je pense que la question, c'est une question de compassion.
I think it's a question of compassion. If we're talking about a crisis, there are people who are trying to get across the border because they're afraid of what's going to happen in the U.S., and I think we should show compassion in our response to their crises. I think for a long time now, the federal government has not given necessary resources to help the people who are crossing illegally. I've said in the past that the third-party agreement should be suspended because of the situation that we find ourselves in, and everything that's going on with Trump and the United States, and the fact that he is not respecting human rights, and it really creates a very difficult situation for those who are crossing. So we need to respond with compassion. So I maintain my position of suspending the third-party safe country agreement. So that's the last question. Thank you.